Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and a doctoral student of psychology. I work with a lot of individuals with attachment wounds, and I work predominantly with avoidance. Today, I wanted to make a quick guide how to always bond with an avoidant individual. And I'm going to be using research in this one, and I will have it in the video description, but all of them are at least in the 2000s. One is 2004, one is 2016, and one is 2017. And why I mention always bond is because bonding, I believe, is something you have to do continuously based on just my perspective as a therapist, also as a student, but also research, which is what we have here. Now, bonding is very important, but bonding with an avoidant can be a little bit challenging, and it is their defense mechanisms and their deactivation strategies make it really difficult, which is why I felt that it was important to make a video on it. And so the first one, which I think is very important, and this one takes a little bit of rapport, and it takes a lot of both of you guys to work on it, and that is consistent and built-in forms of bonding. Okay, so the reason why I bring this up is because a lot of individuals, especially who are avoidantly attached, marital satisfaction with individuals who are insecurely attached, actually, especially if they remain unhealed, it's actually less satisfying than those who are securely attached, typically, not all the time. And so it means that a lot of their defense mechanisms create an unsatisfactory marriage. And that includes avoidant individuals. We can kind of imagine that some things that avoidants are resistant to actually creates issues in the relationship, which I think a lot of people understand. But some avoidants actually are very structured. And so having small little things that are consistently built in the relationship can be very helpful. Now, it depends on the relationship or your partner, but some examples can be establish a time to meet in advance instead of the day of. Commit to communicating in between as well. Now, this is typically in the dating stage, right? So make plans in advance and communicate in between by text message, phone, etc., right? Now, if you've been together for a number of years, it may be easier to have specific days or a specific day when you meet, right? So after work, Monday and Thursday, for example, whatever it may be. Weekends are a good option as well, but some avoidants, not all, use weekends to decompress and are very protective of their weekends, extremely protective. So choose whatever time works best for you as a couple. Every person is different. I really like this one, and if you're living together, I think the activities are just so much easier. Examples could be like sharing a bed, always eating dinner together, or having a little time before bed just to talk and improve connection and safety, right? Having just a little bit of communication or conversation before bed without phones or electronics is a really good way to connect. It can even be very romantic because at that point you can also build physical intimacy if needed as well. And so I think that's a great way to have consistent communication. Another favorite of mine, not all avoidants like this, but some avoidants do, especially particular timely ones, is like a good morning or a good night text. That one just is a lot easier. What I typically recommend if they're my patients is I typically actually tell the avoidant individual to be the one to initiate. Usually I tell the avoidant individual, okay, I want you to be the one to message good morning, and that's all you have to initiate. And the other thing is just answer your partner's text messages. Typically what happens is the partner will be the one that initiates through the day. However, as the relationship builds, I notice that the avoidant individual becomes more comfortable and it starts becoming 50-50, where the avoidant individual is also starting to initiate. But the reason why I tell usually the avoidant individual to say the good morning text, and then the partner will respond, good morning, after that, is because it allows the individual, the avoidant, to learn how to initiate. And the partner feels more secure knowing, okay, my partner sent the first message of the day. Now, that's just an example. It doesn't work with all couples, but it works with some, okay? The next one is have more positive interactions compared to negative interactions. And this one, I think, is very interesting because a lot of people, they think, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. However, it also, when you really think about it and look at couples, it's not as common as you would think. And so let's give an example. Let's say, you want to make sure that all your interactions are happy and satisfying, but also you want to have positive interactions when the connotation is negative. So even in an argument, you still want to put some positive interactions in there. So a good example could be avoid criticism, as avoidants are extremely, extremely sensitive to criticism typically. It's something I really want to put like in bold if I could. Try not to criticize your partner. There are other ways to say things. Criticism typically does not work. Working towards providing each other with reassurance is another way to remove negativity and add positivity instead of getting frustrated. And other positive interactions can just simply be compliments, recognition, just being in a better mood, doing fun things together, like taking walks, walking the dog together, watching a movie, things that have memories built in them that can really help as well for partners. And avoidant individuals, based on research, don't like conflict, right? It's very uncomfortable for them, and it really decreases marital satisfaction when they feel like the interactions are negative. And so it's very important to build in positive interactions as well, okay? The next one is recognize stressors in your own life and your partner's life. Avoidant individuals, they tend to be, pretty moody, not gonna lie. Avoidant individuals are moody, sorry, just being honest. And that moodiness comes from the fact that they are trying to suppress some feelings that they have. They're trying to manage it by themselves. But what ends up happening is it can bleed into other parts of their relationship. Actually, it's why a lot of individuals who are avoidant, sometimes they have a hard time seeing their partner all the time because they don't like to be moody and in a bad mood in front of people. And so they like to do this by themselves, which is fine. If that's what they need to do, whatever works. They can do it in a separate room if you guys live together, or if you guys don't live together, you may need more space in between times seeing each other. However, it's important to recognize if you're the partner who's an avoidant, recognize that you're having a bad day, and I would even recommend you open up and talk about it, even just a little bit, even if it's just very structured. Today my boss was being really annoying. You don't even need to talk how you feel, but just letting your partner know so that when you're feeling detached, your partner will understand. And you as the partner, recognize your own stressors. A lot of times people who are in a relationship with an avoidant, the truth is they're dealing with a lot typically. And so what happens is if there's another stressor in their life, all the things that's upsetting them is going to pop out as well. And that includes being upset at their partner. A lot of times they're going to, kind of emotionally dump all the things that's bothering them on their partner, right? Nowadays we're calling it crashing out, right? Just having some sort of emotional explosion on their partner that might not be what actually is bothering them, but because they were holding that in, it kind of showed up, and now their partner feels really confused. And unfortunately, your partner will not take it as seriously because they're going to correlate it with your stressors. They're going to think it's not real when in fact it is, but you just chose maybe a little bit of not the best time to express it, right? Because you did it while on top of already feeling stressed. And so it's very important to recognize your own stressors so that you can minus those issues. And try to talk with your partner in a more constructive way. When the stressors are there, it's a lot harder to. So pay attention and talk to each other, okay? Talk it out with your friends as well. Bond with whoever you can. But of course, always talk about it with your partner as well so that you guys know what's really going on. The other thing is incorporate any sort of side-by-side activities, right? Shoulder to shoulder, such as taking a walk, going to the grocery store, going to the museum, whatever it may be, so that you guys can have some activities where you're doing something alongside of the opportunity of talking, and also having the safety and closeness of one another. It's kind of like a way similar to what we had mentioned, right? Consistent and built-in forms of bonding. This is just a good example of it, okay? The next one is incorporate solution and competitive-based activities such as playing pool, basketball, chess, or video games, right? Some way that you guys can find other ways to respect one another, respect each other's intelligence or competitive side, see another side of one another instead of just the romantic side. Understand each other from another perspective. It can really help to gain respect from both parties, right? I find this one actually very rewarding. Couples don't realize they can see another side of one another, and it really helps the relationship, okay? The next one is actually, I might have to explain this in a little more detail. I love this one. So this one is basically take time away from one another by having built-in separate trips. I use this a lot with my couples, and I started using it more when I started realizing how rewarding it is. A lot of avoidants like to take separate trips, like by themselves, like whether it's like going to like a tournament of some sort, or, a golf tournament, poker tournament, whatever it is, or maybe girls trip, something, or just by themselves, like traveling to Europe or whatever it is. And avoidants like to do that because they like their independence. They like to do things by themselves. But what I started to notice is when an avoidant individual takes this trip, typically when they come back, they are much more like the frequency of romance in the relationship increases significantly right after the trip, and then it kind of stays. And I'm going to explain that because it's a little odd, okay? It's like the frequency of bedroom activity increases, which happens with most couples, right? But avoidant individuals, it does too. They have more connection, and this is by far the most common precursor to an avoidant individual declaring their love. Now, that's just based off my caseload and previous caseload, so I don't know how accurate that is. But that is not just one case, like multiple cases where an avoidant individual, after bonding for years or whatever it may be, they go on a trip, or, we already have those built-in trips that they just like just for their own independence. And one of those trips, for some reason, well, not some reason, but I won't get into that. But, whatever time that is, they come back from that trip, they're feeling really connected with their partner, and they declare their love. Almost all the time, it happens. And so I really think this is very important because it allows the individual, there's a couple reasons why this happens, okay? And this one is a very strong bonding tool. I would recommend it for all couples, but especially one where one is an avoidant, one or both. What happens in the trip is, first, the avoidant individual can really feel their independence and picture it visually and physically. They are physically somewhere else without their partner. Second, their partner let them go on the trip so that it is actually happening and their partner is letting them, and they feel like, okay, my independence is respected. Third is, while they're on their trip, their partner is giving them space and time. So they're not texting as much, they're not calling as much, because they purposely are choosing to, for the sake of their partner, to have a fun and good time. And fourth, which is probably the most important one, your partner actually begins to miss you. Often, a lot of avoidant individuals, at least in session, they'll say, I really enjoy the trip, but I'm really, really glad to be home with her. Or I'm really glad that after the trip, I got to see her. And a lot of partners have reported to me that their partner is like very chatty or talkative after the trip. He or she has so much to say. And the first person they're always going to want to say is to their partner, which their partner is very important to them. And once they start doing that, they bond with their partner. They really, they really start to build and, love and trust their partner. So built-in trips is really significant, okay? The next one is share goals together. Research does show a correlation between goals and the satisfaction in relationships, just in general. And you can even make goals together that are not always about the relationship. But sharing goals together could be just even your own goals. I want to save $100K for, down payment of a house or a townhouse or whatever it is. Or I want to save, I want to put a higher percentage in my 401k next year. Like, talk about your goals together and connect. This year I want to gain this amount of muscle, whatever it is, just because you're connecting and you're bonding from a lot of different avenues, right? You're connecting with interests, you're trusting each other, you're sharing goals, and you're telling your partner this because subconsciously you guys are connecting and saying, you're going to be in my future when I reach these goals, right? That's the implication. And I think that's what makes it even more solidified. And that's actually probably why there is a correlation between goals and satisfaction in relationships, because it's a positive connection with the implication of you're in my future, which allows security and satisfaction, right? The next one is to praise and recognize the other's efforts and achievements, specifically about the relationship. I noticed that you've been texting me more often, and you know I like text, so I'm sure you're doing that for me, and I really appreciate it. Another example, I noticed that you haven't been double or triple texting me as much. Let's say you're the avoidant, so you're telling your partner this, and I really appreciate that. That means a lot, and I'm definitely going to try and text you more. Whatever it is, recognize and praise. That's very important as well. I really like that one. Sorry about the camera shake. It's really important. The next one is encourage each other. Encourage each other. Let's say somebody wants to get into law school and they want to take, an exam, and they're thinking, I really want to get into a good school. I don't think I'm going to get 170, whatever it may be for the test score. And maybe your partner can be like, No, I think you're smart, go ahead, or you're well versed, or whatever the word is you want to call it. Go ahead and study, take that test. I know you're going to get into law school. You're going to make a great lawyer. Encourage each other, whatever it may be. It allows your partner to feel like, you're not crushing my dreams. You're in my corner. You're part of my life, right? You're not only encouraging me as a person, you're encouraging me for my future. And it, helps them to subconsciously feel like you belong in their future as well. It's a very powerful and beautiful tool. I like it. And the last one is understand where your partner still struggles with their triggers and show respect and patience rather than pressure to get your way, right? If your partner is not ready to be intimate in bed as frequent as you are, it's okay to back off a little bit. You will, if this relationship continues to build, you will have years where you can be intimate with one another. It's okay if it's not as frequent as it used to be. It's probably going to be. If things start getting better, avoidants become very frequent in bed if they're able to trust their partner, really. And avoidant individuals can be very, very romantic in bed. And I'll make a video on that. I just don't know if I can because of like YouTube's, because it's obviously like in bed stuff. So I'll have to look into that. But there's a lot of information I have on that topic as well. I haven't done it yet because I'm not sure if I can. But avoidants are so in the beginning, they become they're very detached but frequent. And then it drops off. But then once I trust you, it becomes frequent and very romantic. And so it's important to understand where sometimes you need to back off to allow your partner to come to you. And each individual is different. So you guys work that out together. But hopefully this is a good guide of how to always bond with your partner and maintain a happy and healthy relationship. Go ahead and subscribe, like, and I'll see you in the next one.